Hey. Sorry for those who were in the live before. I don't know. Everyone kept saying it's frozen. Is it still frozen? So I went back out and went back in. Okay, good. I'm glad it's not frozen. Hopefully this will work. Congrats on 9 years sober. That's awesome. Very cool. Oh, Holly, thanks for the big hug. Sending a big hug your way also. Brooke, I can't really say how Brooke is. I haven't spoken to her since March 2nd. I do know that she is alive. That is what I know. I know who she is with. And since I know who she is with, I have an idea of where she is. I appreciate that there's, always hope. And it's hard. Nothing about this is easy. It just isn't. Heather, hopefully this'll work now. I know some people, I had a live schedule because the plan was to go live. I was trying to get Sam Davis to go live with me. I would say, as of now, I've heard nothing, and I suspect he won't, because I was going to give him the opportunity to make me look bad. I mean, who doesn't want that opportunity? I know there's tons of trolls that do daily. Hi, Legend. I don't know if I saw, did you comment? Did I miss it? Or did you say it in the previous one? Because the live froze, so I'm not... Yeah, you can message me, or I'll try to message you. It's tough. There's nothing easy about this. But I will be getting back to my old content when it comes to creating videos of education and things like that. But you have to understand, as far as my goal as a whole, and kind of what my purpose has become, is to try to change this broken system, and that's the truth. It is hard to love from a distance, for sure. Hi, Chelsea. I pray for my daughter. And the thing is so you have to understand, I'm very passionate about this. I've been sharing for 3.5 years, and did I ever think that I would have a passion for people who were struggling, with substance use disorder, and that I would be wanting to change a system? No. If you had told me 3.5 years ago that would be something I would be trying to do, I would say you were crazy. I want nothing to do with that. And that's the honest to God truth. Anytime I try to do something, I think of my daughter when I'm doing it. And because she is all of you, who are struggling, and that's the truth, and you deserve to be treated with ethics, with proper care. And, families get pushed out, and I've talked about the word codependency, enabling, toxic, all those really get abused in this system, I've come to realize. And don't get me wrong, I know there are toxic parents, because I hear people comment about them all the time. And so I get that some do not want to need to be involved, and that, the person in recovery very well may not want them involved. But I think there's also a lot of manipulation that takes place and pushing families out. Yeah, I haven't talked to her since March, and that has been, I would say that's been it was my decision not to do that, because normally I've always told you guys in the past I would reach out like monthly and let her know that I loved her and things like that. And it's I made that decision, and as part of my healing this last go around. I have an appointment with my therapist this week, and I'm going to talk to her about and get some feedback as far as what she thinks if I should reach out. Because since the real Melissa lost her daughter, Angel, obviously that really hit me hard. And it has made me feel like I want to reach out, but I also don't. It's like both. And it's tough. I love my job, Summer. I really do. I love my job completely. And it's hard. It's exhausting at times, especially when I do long stretches. But I really do love what I'm doing. It's tough because I always wanted to do ICU. And this whole thing that has come about, and when it comes to addiction and recovery and all these things, I'm also very passionate about that. And I would like to do things more on a government level when it comes to that, I think, than actual practice. I want to help with policy change and push for more basically, oversight. I think that's part of the issue. I think the system needs more oversight. Legend, don't give up. You can do it. Hey, what's up?
I'm gonna play out here.
What are you gonna play?
I just wanted to play outside.
You can go jump on the trampoline if you want.
So, Mom, there's something even funner than all fun times. It's the most fun thing in history.
And
on your dog's lawn.
I'm going to DC in September. So this is like a big start for me. And trying to network and make connections with people across the country that I think have a lot of the same views that I do about bringing change to this broken system. So that's something I'm really looking forward to, going to DC for Mobilize Recovery. It's, this big conference, and there's just a lot of things that are kind of happening behind the scenes. People I'm getting in contact with that I wouldn't have even known where to begin to get in contact with them. So it's cool.
Mom, if you stop at me and bite me.
I'm glad that you're in sober living, Legend. What kind of addiction am I dealing with? I don't have an addiction other than what, I don't know. Social media, maybe. I don't know, but really it comes more to do with connection. My dogs are so fucking annoying, you guys. They are so annoying, especially one in particular, that bark you hear. He barks at everything. Memphis, stop. Atlas, leave him alone. He's just gonna bark for no reason. Oh my God, he is a border collie Australian shepherd, and he is so just, if you're outside, he's just very protective, and if he doesn't like what you're doing, like walking outside, he just barks at you, and it's really annoying. You should see me when I make dance TikToks. He just barks at me, and I just, I probably have like bloopers of me just cussing him out because I get so annoyed with it. Oh, I'm so glad you have such a good relationship with your kids now. I'm so proud of you, and I hope you know that. You've come so far.
Hi, Jackie girl.
Like walking, no, I'm serious. It's just me standing outside. And God forbid, he's really my 12-year-old son's dog, and he, I don't want you on here. And, he has so much anxiety, and because that boy climbs trees and does everything, and he loses his shit. if my 12-year-old is outside doing things that he doesn't like. Brooke, you know, I feel free to message me. I really do try to try to respond to everyone. It is hard at times. I'm not going to lie. It is really hard for me to do it. This page has gotten so big that it's just tough. But always know, if you get a response, it is from me. I have, like, Heather has always kind of helped moderate my page when I go live and things like that. But when I send a message or I comment, it's me, always. I've really been trying, Summer, not to put my kids online. It's hard. That's why I don't go live as much, because, you know, it's kind of chaotic sometimes, and they're always trying to get online. Everybody can hear you on social media.
Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? Who's a bad boy?
We need, you know, I would have cows for my Border Collie Australian Shepherd. His name is Memphis, but I had chickens, and he didn't try to kill them, but my German Shepherd killed all my chickens, for those who maybe haven't followed me a long time.
I've been on.
I don't think he's going to join. I haven't heard anything. So if he doesn't join, I probably won't go live. I mean, maybe I'll hear last minute. I haven't heard anything yet. And I know he knows about it. So trust me, he knows about it. And, but you know, it comes down to, he knows that he cannot justify some of his unethical behaviors. There's no way. And as you guys know, if I make a claim, I have receipts to back it up. Your Labradoodle got one of your chickens. Yeah, my Shepherd killed all 4. I was devastated, and I raised them from babies. Is it lagging? Sorry, you guys. If I go in the house, you won't hear me. It'll be too loud. Bless his heart is right. Bless his heart. His friends, I'm sure, will. Lord knows, they've been all up in my comments, and I almost feel like it's scripted sometimes, you guys. Like, the stuff they say, I swear, is scripted, because it's always the same comments, and they're asking the same questions. Stop. And it's kind of frustrating at times, so... But I try to respond, and like I said, I won't block unless they're disrespectful. And then I just finally start to ignore them. But it is what it is. Is it glitching? I don't know. I'll try to sit closer. I just don't know if it's going to make a difference. I think it's maybe the Wi-Fi. Oh, thank you, Casey. My Wi-Fi is literally on the other side of this, so. Thank you, Miri. I think I said that right. My dog. You guys see? You can't see her. That's my German Shepherd right there. She is very upset that she is not out here with me. Yeah, the comments are kind of ridiculous, and if they were like, they're like the same. They almost seem scripted sometimes. And that's when I realize where they come from. But, you know, they're a part of his fan club. And trust me, I get it that he has a southern draw. He is short. I will tell you guys that. I've never been really into short men. But he is short. When I met him in person, that was very disappointing. But yeah, what's funny is I actually came across one of his videos, a very old video, and he had no southern drawl in it at all. Things and just her patterns. And so she had a mental health counselor, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, and at one point she had a trauma therapist, all at once. And I mean, it was all like $25 copays. I mean, you couldn't beat that. And so I really tried to be proactive, and and that's why I get a lot of families that ask me, is there anything they can do to be proactive and try to prevent their teen from going down that path? I really don't know if you can. I tried to be proactive. I think if there's anything you could do is try to reduce trauma if you're fucked up like I was. Like, that's honestly my biggest advice, is get fucking help for yourself so that you can be the person you need to be to your kids. That's honestly, I think, in my situation, what I should have done. You're 5'9". Enjoy Italy, Dora. My daughter wanted to go to Italy for graduation. I said, not this year. Oh, thank you. I look beautiful. It's tough, and it's not rates. Oh, let's talk about rain, you guys. We're going to talk about rain. I worked, I did 3 nights, I had 2 days off, and then I did 6 day shifts in a row, okay? I finally have a week off. I go back to work Saturday. It's rained every fucking day here in Florida. My plan was to be out in the sun, to go to the beach, do these things. No, that's why I'm on social media. Honestly, is because I've been stuck in my house because there's nothing to do. And I'm like, I have a whole week off and I can't even do what I wanted to do. So that's another reason why I've kind of been on social media, because most of the time I've been laying on the couch with the kids, watching, TV, movies, things like that. It rains a lot this time of year. Yeah, I'm sure it's raining in Destin, man. We were under tornado warnings where I work like a week ago. It was just crazy, and now the rain just won't stop, and I really wanted to go to the beach one day this week. Humid? Yeah, I don't feel like, it's humid here always. It hasn't been that bad. I am on the opposite coast, so I'm on the Gulf Coast. I'm in the Crystal River area. It will be, Dora, but it's okay to take some time for yourself. I know you're terrified. I would be too. But you have to live your life. I will go to the beach. I don't mind going to the beach if it's raining, if it's me. However, taking the kids to the beach, it sounds like a lot of complaining at times, because it'll be like, I'm cold, I'm this, when can we go home? That's always what happens. And, so it would be short-lived, because the beach where I live kind of sucks. So we have to drive, at least an hour away to get on a good beach. Oh, nice. The sand. Oh, I have sand in my butt. We used to go to the beach a lot. We really haven't gone to the beach much. We've been moved back. It's been 2 years now. We really haven't gone to the beach much. Shut up. Now it's the other dog barking. I took a fellowship, like a lot of you know. So I took a huge pay cut, and I didn't have the money to go to the beach during that time. We would sometimes go. Last year we did go up to Destin, and I really liked Destin. It was before I started my fellowship. I've been looking at trying to go this summer, but we have 3 dogs, and we have to find somebody to watch them, so we haven't done much. But I don't mind going to the beach for a day. My favorite beach though is usually St. Pete Beach. Yeah, Fort Walton's beautiful. We have a pool too. I have to go buy shock. It turned green on me, so I have to shock it, and I can't even swim if I wanted to. So I've been slacking when it comes to that. I always love Clearwater, except that it's so chaotic. It really is. It's so chaotic in Clearwater. when we moved back, we actually had a condo there for like 10 days. It was, we were supposed to go to Hawaii, but COVID was still going on. And Hawaii was a trip we had planned, but Hawaii was so on the fence about COVID that I'm like, I'm not going over there to have to quarantine and not be allowed to go out anywhere. I just didn't want to spend that kind of money. And so we decided, this was before we decided to move back to Florida. I was like, why don't we just take a family vacation, everyone go back to Florida, we'll visit, we'll spend time with family for 10 days. So I had already booked the condo on Clearwater Beach, and then we sold our house and moved back, and I couldn't get out of the condo. So that was how we ended up there, but I couldn't believe how crazy it was. It might not be as bad now that everything's open across the country, but it was really bad during those COVID times. So I really want to do a trip yearly if I can. It's not going to happen this year. So I was trying to look at to where I could finance it and kind of throw money at it, different places. And so I had looked at the Turks and Caicos. God, they're expensive. So that was originally something I was booking out like a year and a half out to try to work some overtime and throw money at and take the family, because I've always wanted to go there. But then I started looking at Hawaii, and because I can't take my grandson to Turks and Caicos because I can't get him a passport. But Hawaii, I could take my grandson. So I started looking at Hawaii again at Maui. So, and I could find, God, they had some pretty decent condos, like through Airbnb for under $300 a night. It's just, flights are so expensive. That's just what, flying is so expensive. I looked at cruises. So interestingly enough, before COVID, you could get on a cruise within like a month. They have cruises, they're booked out till like September next year. And because I was like, well, maybe we can go on a cruise even this summer, like a 3-day. You can't even find them. So it's just kind of crazy. St. Thomas, I have not been there. That is another place I would like to go. In July, out of Tampa. Yes, Heather, send me your dates again, because I really would like to see you. I don't know if you're even going to be not on a cruise ship then, because I really would like us to meet in person. Last summer because of COVID. I have some friends, they went on cruises last summer and they all got COVID. So I'm not big on cruises. I've never been on one. I get very seasick, very. So I'm kind of nervous about going on a cruise because that seems like hell to me, to be stuck on a cruise ship and then be nauseated. I obviously would bring Zofran. I've had some people say getting the scopolamine patch to go behind the ear can help, but I am easily prone to motion sickness and seasickness, and it's only gotten worse with age. Yeah, I will say one of the best places I've been, I want to explore more, but I would like to take all of my family there. Like we went to La Fortuna, Costa Rica. It was very affordable going. It was $700 a piece for a week. And my daughter and I went, and I loved La Fortuna, loved it. And I would really like to take the entire family and go back there. La Fortuna, so what, Lafortuna. Yeah, no, and what I liked about La Fortuna was that, because we went to the coast a couple of days also, I really did not like the coast. It was pretty, don't get me wrong, but on La Fortuna, I felt like almost all the people could speak English. The food was very affordable. I felt that it was more affordable. You have the volcano there. There's so much to do. We went and rode four-wheelers, and I had an amazing time. The time we spent in La Fortuna, it was definitely worth it. I can't remember which beach we were. It wasn't the super popular one that begins with, I think, a T that everyone talks about. It was a different one. And I mean, and it was really pretty, but oh my God, I was so stressed out driving in that country. So stressed out. I know a lot of people. So when I lived out west, it amazes me how many people, how often they fly out and go to like Maui. And I know it's shorter when you're already on that coastline, but I'm thinking, how these people have this money to do this? I mean, it's not cheap as big as our family is to go and pay for plane tickets to go to all the way to Hawaii. But it is something we were actually going to go. We were going to renew our vows. That was something we had wanted to do because it was our 10-year wedding anniversary. Thanks, COVID. I didn't do the river ride. That would have been cool. When we moved away from Florida, we actually moved to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and we lived out there for 5 years. My husband had family out there. It was gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous, and there's things and there's people that I miss out there, but you know, I was born and raised here in Florida, actually in the county we live in, and my mom's here, and I like the South in general. SEC football is way better than out west, and I feel like, and so I just, the food in the South tends to be better, but there are definitely things that I miss out west. Now, I don't know where you went to in Idaho. Where we lived, because I know, because like they call it potato country, we were in the Panhandle, so we were really close to Spokane, Washington, and it's all mountains, gorgeous lakes. Basically, Coeur d'Alene is the bougie part of Idaho. I didn't realize that when we moved out there. Like the Kardashians own a home. I think Luke Bryan owns a home. So many celebrities own homes out there. I think Justin Bieber owns a home around Coeur d'Alene. It's beautiful. I'm not gonna lie, it is. Winter's too long though. Yeah, and so that's why I'm looking at Hawaii, because I even told my mom, you know, my mom's getting older and she's never gotten to really travel or do things. And I asked her, I said, well, if we go to Hawaii, I'm like, do you want to go? I said, I can look at getting a condo, because I really would like her as she's getting older to at least have some really cool experiences. So I'm trying to make it like a really, like a family trip if I can. I will. I'll make her go. I know my son really, if we go to Maui, I have to look because I know he wants to go, I guess, the Big Island, because he wants to go see Pearl Harbor. He's huge into history, my 12-year-old son. And so that's like something I know he would want to do. And so it's definitely, you know, saving up. Are you talking about my oldest daughter? The one who struggles with addiction? The only way she would be able to go would be if she was, you know, sober. Obviously, I can't take her if she's in active use. Yeah, and it's hard, you know. That's something actually when we went, me and my other daughter went to Costa Rica. I cried. I cried so much because you know, that was something I wanted to be able to do with like both of my girls, and I haven't been able to have those memories with her. And so like I was literally, as sad as it is, on the four-wheeler in the rain, driving around a volcano with tears running down my face. She's gotten sober numerous times, but like I can't officially confirm that she's in active use again, but just knowing who she's with and like where she is, I suspect. Michelle, I know I've seen a lot of your post. How old was she when she started? So she talked about this. She was 13 or 14. Where she talked about she started, I guess, sneaking pills, and I asked her. I was like, "Well, where?" Because I've never taken like anything. If anything, I've been maybe on antidepressants on and off. And she's like, "Your pain pills?" And I'm like, "What pain pills?" Anytime I would get dental work done or a procedure, I don't really take narcotics. So I'm one of those people, I would hold on to them in case, like, you know, an apocalypse came or God forbid something happened and I was hurt or I developed a toothache. And so I would hold on to them to take. And because, I mean, they were probably a couple years old, and that was, she found those, and I had no idea. So that was, she's talked about that's kind of how that started. I knew in high school that she was dabbling recreationally with things. And then it wasn't until after she had her son, as far as the whole story surrounding that, you know, what she has told me, a lot of it, she had postpartum depression, and she had not gotten back on her mental health medications after having her son. She was sober her entire pregnancy, and she had never been an IV drug user, and but the father was, and she tried to hide that from me, and sadly, she did it, and she's never been the same since. So if you're on here, you're watching, and you don't use IV drugs, don't start. Please, just don't. You too. Yeah, no, seriously. And you know, you just never know, because God forbid, you know, when you get a toothache and it's horrendous, nobody wants to prescribe meds. So I'm like, well, God, I don't want to suffer. Oh, thank you, Krista. And so I held on to them, and I never thought about it, because my husband, he doesn't take anything, and it was just never something we thought about. But yeah, so it's, you know, it's scary. Hey, buddy. No, I didn't think about it. You know, when you're not an addict, right? You don't think about it.
Why are you not sitting on the couch?
Because I don't have good signal, buddy. That's why. Nope. I don't want nobody to see you. You're too special.
Who's on your phone?
A lot of people are on my phone.
No, it's just you.
It's just me.
Yeah. Can I throw this in the water?
No, don't throw it in the water. You see how dirty that pool is? Don't do it, because I got to clean it.
But we were swimming in it.
I know. I got to shock it, though. I got to go buy shock. Sorry, guys. And he put it in the water. How is it you can say no and they still do what you tell them not to do? It just never fails. And does she only do IV? I can't, probably. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that's her preferred method.
See, you had to put
but I genuinely
you had to put the fence back on.
I gotta do what? Put the fence back on?
Yeah.
You would have thrown it in either way.
Because so the wall won't go in.
You did that on purpose. I saw you.
But,
He is precious.
Gigi, how do you start the water when it's squishy?
When it's squishy?
Yeah.
I don't know, bud. Oh, thank you, Heather. No, I adored this. I adore that. They're going to constantly interrupt, and I try not to get distracted. But yes, I'm Gigi.
Do I have to go get the ball?
No, I'm not going to get it right now. But yeah, so those who maybe don't know who are on here is I am raising my daughter's son. We've had him since he was 1, and he's 4 now. I'm not amazing, you guys. I'm just a normal person, you know, dealing with a shitty deck of cards at times. And it's, I don't think I'm better than anybody else, that's for sure.
Hi, Scout. Bye-bye.
Adora, I will let you guys know. I appreciate it, you guys.
Can I not go in the pool?
No, look at how green that is. I gotta shock it. Sadly, as far as I know, the dad, you know, I know the dad struggles with addiction also. Whether or not he's sober, I genuinely can't answer that. The last time I think I spoke to him, he was sober. That's what I was told, but he tends to lie a lot also, so I really don't know. I won't give up on her. It's hard, you know. I kind of talked about this yesterday, and that I'm not always happy, like with my daughter. And you know, a lot of what I show is I try not to show like a negative light or if I'm angry or things like that on here, especially anymore, because I think people who are struggling, they know that those are natural emotions. I think you see enough of that. And so I kind of try to share the side that's not angry. Dad is not in his life. Dad tends to try to be controlling, and I originally had set up for him he had requested visitation, and he has not seen him since before his first birthday. And he would call, he went a whole year like without calling at all, and so he doesn't know him. You're gonna hurt yourself. And he really doesn't know him. And so I had told him, I was like, you know, we can meet in person, and kind of laid out the rules regarding it. And he didn't want to comply. He kept demanding it to go a certain way, that he was just going to come pick him up, and they were going to do this and they were going to do that. I'm like, no, that's not how this is working. He doesn't know you. And he would not just accept that it was going to take baby steps. And so there's like no visitation at this point, because I finally put my foot down because it wouldn't stop. And I finally put my, what, bud? No. Sorry, you guys. His dad's family is not involved. So they're kind of the same way. They're not bad people, but they knew, both of them, both the parents were in active use before I did. And there were things that took place of them trying to protect their son rather than trying to protect my grandson, who was a baby. And when I found out, I was across the country because they were in Florida, and I was put in a very tough position. I never wanted to involve DCF, and I told my daughter, I said, listen, you can let me have my grandson while you guys get sober, and just to ensure his safety, you know, and you guys work on you and getting sober. I was very naive and thought, you know, it was just going to be treatment and that would fix it. And obviously it's not that easy. And I said, or I was going to call DCF to get them involved to ensure his safety. And I got called every fucking name in the book over it. I did file a report with DCF because me being literally across the country, I wanted to ensure my grandson's safety. And I was very angry at my mom because my mom was enabling her. Oh, thank you, Heather. And it was a very tough position to be in. I didn't want to do that. I also didn't realize how bad it was, even being across the country. So that was kind of how that kind of came to be. And DCF did get involved, and I know my daughter was following through with everything that they required, and the father was not. He had no interest. And then when she overdosed, oh, thank you, Michelle. When she overdosed in March, my stepdad had called me, and I flew down, and I still am shocked that she agreed to go into treatment, and that was the first time she went into treatment, and that's how we ended up with our grandson. I do believe I made the right decision. Anybody who has sobriety, if I missed it, I always try to congratulate you guys. I'm sorry. But when it comes to his parents, the other grandparents, they were not ever putting my grandson first, and that really bothered me. So when I had told them I was going to call, like my daughter, that I was going to call DCF, his parents actually called and begged me not to. And I'm like, I was so disgusted, and just like, how can you say that? Like, this is your grandson. What do you mean? They're both using, and this is about ensuring his safety and his well-being. And I really became very bitter after that. And I had, however, I would allow any time them to call when they wanted to do FaceTime when we were across the country. I even offered the other grandparents the option to fly out and stay with us, because I know it's not cheap to fly out and stay with us to see him. They never did that. When we moved back to Florida, they had not called in months. I mean, like 6 months, I think it was. And I wasn't going to go out of my way to tell them we were back in the area. They're literally 30 minutes away from where we live. And so I wasn't going to call them. I'm like, they haven't called in 6 months. And eventually they did. And I told them. And then they started just demanding. I'm like, you guys are not consistent. He does not know you. He's very young. There's no consistency here. Because he was, I think he was two when we moved back. And so that was kind of, they have kind of fallen off the face of the earth since.
Hi, God. Did you watch The Secret?
Is it Shay? Am I saying that right? Shay? I think that's right. I'm glad that you never turned to IV. I'm just telling you guys, if you are struggling with addiction, do not turn to the needle, please. My daughter has not been the same. And she did recreationally, and she struggled. I'm telling you, ever get her back. I'm just going to be honest. Like, it's rough. She's not the same person. Children do need consistency. Oh, sorry, you guys. And so I've tried to give that to him. Of how to put up boundaries. I have made up videos like that. It's probably been a while. I can make another one. It's tough. I try to share, my experience. I never want to tell people, oh, thank you. Siva, I hope I said that right. I never try to tell people what to do. I just try to share my experience. And the important thing with boundaries is to remember they're not to hurt the person who's in addiction. It's to help protect you. Thank you, Jody. She is strong. She's not a dumb girl. She really isn't. She is strong. And all I can think of is that she is surviving out there because I have talked to her. Like, we've had serious in-depth conversations about if she relapses, not to go out and use the same amount. I mean, these are numerous conversations we have had. And I know she doesn't want to lose her life. And I hope someday she can find sobriety. I know somebody, I'm sorry you guys, I'm reading through these. No, and Scarlett, I know there are numerous people who have commented about, they've been able to get off of the needle and get that, and find recovery. And so it can definitely be done. But I can just tell you, God, when I look at pictures from before she went on the needle, I mean, we're talking just a few months before, it's night and day. She's just changed physically so much. And it's so much harder. I can't speak on that, but it just seems like it just seems so much harder for her to find recovery, being on it. And, but I know other people would maybe be able to explain that more, because, I don't struggle with that. So that piece I don't really understand. She does, and she's very self-conscious about her scars, and I had told her, I was like, if you get enough sobriety time, she could eventually pay to get tattoos to cover them and whatnot, which is what she would need to do. So she has always been very self-conscious of her scars. Brittany, congratulations. That's awesome that you were able to do that without maintenance. I think that's amazing. I have not talked to her recently.
Scout isn't coming.
I do not believe that she is sober. Does my grandson ask about her?
What grandson?
No, you silly goose. And no, not in a while. Now I do have like a digital photo frame. And so I have all pictures of her on it, and it sits in like my foyer, and his room is right by it. He doesn't know I'm talking about his mom. I can tell you that. Like he doesn't. I haven't said her name when he's been out here, so those are things he doesn't know. And because I would never do that. I don't ever bash his mother or anything like that. I'll find the frame because you can move it. And so I know he goes through and he finds pictures of her and he looks at them. I know he does that. But he has that. And I have all the pictures over God, I think I've uploaded all of them from even when he was born on there so he can see them. Nope, I haven't heard from Sam about doing the live. I suspect that he is not going to do it. It is sad. I mean, it's, he's happy. So I am happy that he's happy, but it makes me sad. And he is the spitting image of my daughter. So there are times when I just tear up just even talking to him, because it's like I'm looking at my daughter when she was his age. She just had hair. I did sell pretty much everything. I'm not doing it. I still have the website. I don't have it anywhere. I was just done with it, and I'll be paying the debt on that for years to come. But that's okay. My priorities are focused elsewhere. And we also, when it comes to him and like talking, we don't talk as far as shame. Oh, you don't want that. What's that? What are you doing with that? You put sand in it?
Yeah.
Was it open?
I opened it.
You opened it and you filled it with sand? You know that was like, okay. Well, okay. Or you don't open it up here. Go open it over out there. Don't open it up here. I don't want it in the patio. Sorry, I know everyone's asking about how my daughter is. Is it okay? It's okay. There's no thunder. And sorry, you guys. I get distracted with them. We have a spa that's not working that came with the house, and there was a bottle of treatment, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, you got that lid off? And I must have been empty. Oh, it was, because I poured it, and I'm thinking, do I need to go hose him down? Because it's like dry powdered treatment. But you know how boys just get into everything? He is a sweetheart. But you know, somebody had asked about if it was my passion. Yes, I really enjoyed doing the boutique side of it. I did, but I tend to take on too much. Heather can attest to that. And I really wanted to kind of move away from the boutique and be able to dedicate free time that I have to really trying to improve the system. That honestly is kind of, I would rather dedicate time to that. So, you know, I started a podcast, which I've been very lazy on because editing is a bitch, I'm not going to lie. And that's why I have a lot of people who want to be interviewed. I really want to interview a lot of people, but editing takes so much time, and sometimes I just don't have the patience for it. If you go to the link in my bio, you can find it. It's also on my website, which is, I think it's listed as resources on my bio, or you can just literally type in brandymac.com, just how it is on here, BRANDIMAC, no space.com. I have a link for my podcast on there.
That was.
Oh, I appreciate it, Amber. Yeah, I just, you know, I'm just trying to. That stuff. No. Go do that out there in the sand pit. I don't want that all in here on the patio. This one, my grandson loves to be outside. Absolutely loves it. Okay. Back to how is Brooke? I had kind of mentioned this. I don't really have anything. Any updates to give. You know, I believe that she's in active use just because of who she's with. There are things like I talked about this briefly last night. I know I had talked about in videos that I had asked her to leave and it wasn't drug related, and that is true. I'm not ever going to lie to you guys. I just won't speak on something. I would never lie. I just won't ever talk about it. But as time has gone on, because it's been many months now, my husband and I, her sister, we've kind of talked, and we have kind of questioned if maybe she had just relapsed. Just talking about patterns and things. I think we all knew she was heading that direction, and we were trying to prevent it. But I just kind of have a strong feeling that maybe she had relapsed prior. Oh, Myra, I completely agree. No, he didn't go live. That is scheduled for like eight or I did it for 2 hours. I just put it on there, but I haven't gotten, he knows my phone number, so he can text me and be like, yeah, I'll be on there. I'm not shocked that he's not going to do it. I do have a lot going on. Oh my gosh, these dogs, you guys, hush. Oh my God, sorry to yell at you guys. I know you don't want to hear that. I did invite him to go live. So it's really funny to me, just talking about this briefly, is he has talked about how he blocked me. I blocked him when everything happened. I even made a video that I came across where I even said I had blocked him. And so he is unblocked on my end, and so that he would be able to go live. But he won't do it. I'm sure he would love to, because he has that big of an ego. I've met him in person, and but I'm sure he has many people telling him not to do it. And I just wanted to give him the opportunity. I'm not looking to argue with anybody. I don't want it to be a fight. Somebody had mentioned, they're like, you should really have a moderator. And I'm like, I don't even know who I would use as a moderator. Heather maybe, but Heather really dislikes him. So I don't know if that would be a really good approach if she's on here still. She has a lot of negative feelings towards him, and because of things she has seen. But I don't want it to be a yelling match, like ugly in any way. I really have questions that I would like him to answer. And this gives him an opportunity to really make me look bad. I mean, I figured he would really want to do that, because in his comments, it sure sounds like it. Oh, Angie, thank you. I'm used to those 4 a.m.s. I believe you can be nice and watch your manners. You know, Melissa is struggling. I think it's going to be really hard on her from here on out. One of the things for people who have ever gone through this, you get kind of consumed by the busyness, right, of planning a funeral. You have everybody reaching out. You have all these people reaching out to you, and you're just swamped that you don't have time to just sit and deal with it. That now that the funeral has passed, and things get forgotten, right? As time goes on. I think that's when it gets really hard. And so, I have texted with her on and off, and I know she has posted some, and it just amazes me how trolls will leave nasty comments on her pages when she just lost her daughter. Like, I feel like if you're commenting on somebody who just lost their daughter's page, just lost her daughter, and on their page like that, that there's kind of a special place in hell for them. That's kind of how I feel in that scenario, because that's just a whole new level of shitty. Here, let me let them in. You are being so loud. Don't take that inside. Go play with that out there. Go in.
Mom, is there a type of bird which speaks English?
No. You can train some birds to talk.
I don't have anybody to spill sand on the head.
Go play out there. I'll watch you. Or go jump on the trampoline.
I want you to come watch me.
I'm sitting here watching you. I can't go far away because I don't have signal. But I can watch you. Go jump, but make sure you zip it up. Go zip it up when you jump on there. Go jump.
Will you say that to me?
I did say that to you.
You said I have to zip it.
Huh? Yeah, you have to zip it. I know you can do it. I've seen you.
Even I have to zip
He doesn't want me talking to you guys. Yeah. Go jump. Go jump.
You
I'm going to get off of here soon. And then I won't get back on until you go night-night, okay?
I don't want to go night.
I know we're not talking now. I'm not talking now.
I want you.
I know you. I'm right here.
But I'm going to get splinter when I get all the way over there.
You're fine. I can see you, buddy. There's no splinters.
What?
My husband just got home. He is cute. A brief summary of what I'm talking about. I assume you're talking about the Sam thing. Basically, the best summary I can give you guys about what had transpired, you're going to see my husband. Is that him? Here, that's right there. So Sam, I got to be careful. I'm not going to say the full name on here because people like to get my lives blocked. So Sam, I had actually came across on my For You page, last year sometime. And I had started watching his videos, and he had said he was an interventionist, and I was really drawn to his content, like I think a lot are. He speaks very well. He seems to, provide really good information. And we had kind of started messaging back and forth over those months and commenting on videos and things like that. And when my daughter showed up wanting treatment August, I had gotten her into detox right away. And then she ended up going to another place here in Florida. She knew that she needed long-term, which she had never done. Well, that's not cheap. And then trying to find a place. So because of my platform, you gonna play in the rain? It's not thundering. You can stay out there. She had, we started looking for long-term. And I had so many places because of my platform offer to scholarship her. When I say scholarship, you guys, that means also bill my interns, okay? And yes, that is his handle. If you Google that, he'll come up, or you can type that name and the interventionist. And so I had all these places. I was talking to all these places on the phone. So many places were reaching out. And as I've talked before, you can't really trust Google reviews. You can't tell what places are legitimate. And even talking to places on the phone, we had been burned. I mean, we had. And I really wanted her to go to a legitimate place. And I realized, even as smart as I am, I couldn't determine which ones those were. And so I reached out to him because we had been in contact a bunch and asked him to help me kind of go through my top places and get his feedback on if he had heard of any of these places, like which one to pick over another. And he had then recommended MARC, which that's an abbreviation. Somebody can type it in here. Had recommended MARC. And he had told me about it, and he said that they would be supportive of MAT, and because that was kind of a really big thing for us, because she had been on it. And it was after that he said he was going to make a call, and I was really hesitant because they're all the way in Baltimore, Maryland, and Baltimore doesn't have a good reputation, and I was just really like, I felt like I didn't want to do that because of where it was. Hold on. Here, you want to go in and see Papa? Papa's home.
Papa?
Yeah, here. Go in and see Papa. Don't take that inside. I don't want that sand in my house.
Hey, Holly, so I can come back out.
Yeah,
Papa!
here. Go see Papa, get a drink. I'm going to try to get through this before he comes back out. And so I had asked him, and he had recommended this place, and I was like, okay. So I had talked to Brooke about it. I'll be in a minute. And she had said no, and she just really didn't want to go that far away. And I was like, well, I told her I kind of trusted this guy's opinion. That's literally what I told her. I don't want him out here right this second.
I'm inside.
Yeah, I'll be in just a second, okay? And I told, and she trusted me, and so she was agreeable to go. And she went up there, and with that, they were billing her insurance, and then they got the GoFundMe money. So it wasn't like a full scholarship. They billed the insurance, they got the GoFundMe money, and then, they were scholarshiping the rest. But I was still paying for medication and all those things. So I don't know how true that was. I really don't know. She had been up there, and one of the things they had said, we knew they had this blackout period, and I'm not against blackout periods. I mean, I think they can definitely be beneficial in like the first month. And so they told me that it was 30 days, 45 days max, multiple times. That was what was told to her. That was what was told to me. And I was like, and she was not happy about that to begin with, but she agreed. So she gets up there, and then all communication is cut off. And I would get like a weekly call from her therapist that constantly was telling me the sky is falling, which was really triggering for me. There was never any positive feedback, and it was very upsetting for me. I made videos about it. If you go back, all those are up still. I actually made a file that says Sam and Mark under playlist on my page. At one point they told me it's imminent. She's going to leave. Okay. This is this ongoing blackout period, which they continued to extend. It went over 90 days. And I kept asking why, and nobody would give me an answer as to why. I ended up finally, when I'm getting told that she's going to leave, I am trying to work, like live my life. I was doing nights, 7 on, 7 off. I call at one point, I made a video about this. I was really upset. I mean, I was screaming and cussing them out. I'm like, you need to let me talk to her. If she's going to leave, she's states away. Like, I have always been able to talk to her and kind of talk her off the ledge when it comes to that, or at least let her know, hey, at least let us get you back to Florida. Nobody up there. They refused, like flat out refused. Thank you, Kaylee. And I told him, I said, you need to, I was talking to a therapist. I'm like, you're done. Escalate to the next person. The owners didn't want to talk to me because that would have been who the next person was. They flat out refused to talk to me about that. And I told him, I said, I'm going to call the cops and do a well check. I mean, I don't even know if she's alive. Like I wasn't allowed to write her letters. Somebody sent her winter boots off of her Amazon wish list because she's from Florida and she went in October and she had no winter gear. And this is Maryland. They refused to give them to her. I don't even know what happened to those boots. They flat out refused to give them to her and told her she had to get them from the donated bin. And I said, what would have been the difference if we had bought stuff at that time and sent it with her? I was like, we couldn't. There was such a short notice. And so there were a lot of things that kind of transpired. Then she had no coat, and so she had to get that. I mean, I was literally trying to just get her the necessities, not gifts. I mean, it was literally necessities. Oh yeah, they're open. And so that was kind of how that transpired. And I was really pissed off about it. And they continued. I was trying to get information as far as, because she signed a release of information for me to have access to everything. And she had never revoked that. And they start telling me they're weaning her off of her Suboxone. And I'm like, what do you mean you're weaning her off of her Suboxone? I said, I mean, more and more information being put out there showing long-term Suboxone use is okay. You know, if she's fine with continuing on it, we're fine with her being on it. Why are you going to wean her? And especially they were trying to push to wean her during her trigger season. Like that was a huge frustration for us. She has left like every Christmas. She's relapsed. We haven't had like a decent Christmas in like 3 years. This last one, she did make it through. But they were forcing her to wean off of her Suboxone, and which was very upsetting. And then I couldn't talk to her. And then she was allowed to call her son like weekly. And most of the time I wasn't there. So finally, when this winter stuff came to be and they wouldn't let her have basic winter necessities, she was calling to talk to her son. I got on the FaceTime and I was like, hey, I said, do you have what you need? And I could see the fear of God in her eyes. And she got pissed because I said, you know, these shoes were sent to you and they wouldn't let you have them. And she got really pissed off. It was very clear that she was very pissed off. And they forced her to get off of the phone, and then they banned her from talking to her son for a period of time. And after that, when she would call, you could see she'd be looking at somebody because they'd have somebody watching her when she would call, and the fear in her eyes. It was crazy. And so people can say I'm toxic all you want. They pushed that narrative. My daughter and I were the best we have ever been prior. And she had 2 months sober before she actually went there. So it wasn't like she was detoxing. We really were in a really great place. And so every time she would call, just to say, I love you, she would look and she at times she would mouth, is that okay? And how insane is that? Like she's talking to her family and they can hear if there's anything inappropriate going on, but that was what was transpiring at that facility. And so those things continued to happen. And I continued to ask, and I made many videos, but I wouldn't say where she was, right? It wasn't an issue. They knew I was talking about them. They knew, but it didn't matter because for her safety, because my platform is so big, I wouldn't say where she was, okay? And so they weren't getting any heat from it. Well, and I was very vocal about how frustrated I was. And I really believe that, like, she has expressed to me that she thinks that they were trying to turn her against me, and they were definitely trying to push me out, which shouldn't be allowed. And so I haven't really talked a lot about these things. I didn't learn this. I knew what was going on my end, right? Because I was cut off from her. I was told I couldn't write letters to her, all these things. And then finally, they started allowing, with the therapist, me to do a FaceTime with her. And that was in the beginning of January with her. And it went really well. And I thought that was going to be it. And they were like, no, we're going to maybe do another one. And then maybe we'll lift the blackout period so she can talk to you. Okay. And it was the day of our second call when our blackout period was supposed to possibly be lifted with the therapist, that the therapist called me and told me something had happened. And I'm not going to share it on here. I know some know. And something had happened and that they were going to have the treatment team meet with her and confront her about it. I knew what had transpired. And I actually said to them, I was like, I told them, the therapist, I was like, I think that's going to be very triggering for her. And just knowing her. And I'm like, how, and I asked about the approach and they're like, no, it's going to be your treatment team, all this. Well, next thing I know, right? What happens? They confront her. She leaves AMA. Shocker. I called that because I even said, I'm like, do I need to fly up there? Because I did not want her leaving AMA. And I didn't even know what was surrounding it. Okay. I I'm getting this vague information, and then finally, you know, I'm upset, and I had shared that she had left, and I'm hoping I'm going to hear from her. She left with no phone. I knew nothing surrounding that, and then the next day, I decided to email the therapist, and I was like, can I know the specifics, like what time she left? Why didn't she have her phone? And I'd have to pull like the email and specifically what she said, because it's been a little bit, but it was, you know, they didn't give her the phone. And what I later learned was that she was told she couldn't have it. There's been a lot of false things that have been said, that it was going to take an hour and all this. And I have written down somewhere the name. It was a female. I think one guy's name maybe was Larry. And then there was a female who ultimately made the decision they weren't going to give her a phone. She had no family. She was states away. We're in Florida. And I gave it a couple of days of not hearing from her, realizing she had not logged into social media before I finally filed a missing persons report. And what I found out from her was that they basically use therapeutic community, which I knew nothing about. And it is a substance use disorder is like illicit drug use. Yeah, she left with, you know, she had a sweater on and whatnot. And so I wasn't getting any details, and I was just trying to figure out like the time and things like that. And so I knew to report to the cops. And of course, when I filed the report, I told them, like, you know, I have a pretty large social media following, and because I feel like they take it seriously when you say that. And they did take it seriously, and it was fucking everywhere. I didn't expect it to go everywhere, but it did. And she never even knew about that. Even though it went everywhere, she didn't know it was everywhere. And then it was a friend of hers that actually said, hey, she's logged in and just contacted me. They contacted me at it was 4 a.m. And so I immediately contacted her through social media because she was live. And she thought I wasn't going to come up and get her. That's why she never reached out. She believed that they had her convinced that I would leave her there. And that was why she never reached out. And that's pretty disgusting. I can't predict what would have been different. As far as that, you know, my daughter has left treatment in the past. Okay. I know she was trying. I know she was trying. And the scenario that I know that transpired based off of what she has told me, and basically she was put in what they call the hot seat, therapeutic community, some people may know what that is on here. It's basically kind of like a humiliation tactic that gets used. Some will say it's accountability, but when people have trauma, that doesn't work with everyone. And when I found out what it involved, the topic that it involved that she was confronted about, I thought it was very inappropriate. And them knowing her history, they should not have used therapeutic communication in that situation. They should have confronted her, yes, with her treatment team. But when I tell you they confront with therapeutic community or whatever, it's every patient is there. And basically they tell you, you know, how much of a piece of shit you are. That's more or less what she told me how it works. And so that, of course, was very triggering for her. And she was like, fuck this, and left. So as far as the live with Sam, you guys, he has not confirmed. I have given him the option. I know that he has seen it. I know that he knows that it has been offered. But am I shocked that he's not going to go live with me? No, I'm not. And so, I mean, I actually started at that point researching therapeutic community, and studies I read, like when you read the studies, it doesn't sound like a horrible thing. But somebody had pointed me in the direction of a couple of podcasts to listen to that talk about it, because I think it was started really in AA, and that it can be very negative. I think my understanding is I think it's used commonly in the prison system. And a lot of people who I respect on here who are in recovery have said, that it was very traumatizing to them. And so I had never heard of that. I know she had never gone through that at any other facility. And so I was very upset. Very upset. And then this is a long story, you guys, I know. Basically, I hear from her, and she is agreeable to me to coming home. She said she wants to come home, and she wants sobriety. She had relapsed. She said she had not used IV, though, but that she had relapsed. And so my mom and I flew up, and I was questioning if she was going to even show up. And sure enough, man, I had an Uber pick her up in Park Heights, and she was waiting at the hotel, which we never checked into because I decided to turn around and book a late flight immediately home for all three of us because I just wanted to get out of that state. And so we immediately flew back to Florida. At that point, I'm sharing on here what I'm learning about what transpired at that facility and my frustrations, but I'm saying their name. Okay, now I'm saying it's Mark. And now something to share is before I knew where she was and she's missing, and I'm sharing this topic on my social media and getting word out to people in that area to be on the lookouts for her. The owner, now all of a sudden the owner wants to call me when I'm saying what facility it is because they're getting a lot of negativity. And he calls me, I'm calm. And I told him, I'm like, do you realize the liability that you let her leave without a phone? And she knows nobody. She said she hasn't logged into social media in 3 days. And I said, I would really like if you could email me a copy of your AMA policy. Because, they're a big rehab. And he refused. He told me, I'm not going to send you anything since you're talking on social media. And I was like, I told him, I said, do you really think I'm shocked by your response? And that was what the owner told me. Sam, this is a different Sam. There's two Sams. Sam and Zach own this place. And so I was like, wow. And so I shared that. I was never lying. Anything I shared, like I said, it's valid. And all of a sudden, I'm getting hundreds, if not thousands of comments because so many people were trying to help. And it was very overwhelming for me. And I'm the only one that manages this page. And I'm dealing with my fear as if she's alive. And I happened to notice in my comments, Sam D, the interventionist, people can say who he is in there. He's in my comments saying things about my daughter and her treatment to strangers in comments that I didn't know about. And I even responded. I said, wow, that would have been really nice to know. Why are you saying it here? And I didn't have time to really process through that because I respected him. And so I'm sure it happened frequently that I don't even know about. And he's probably deleted them since. And then he started texting me and he kept pushing me to meet with the owners of this facility when my priority at that time was solely to get my daughter back. I wanted to know my daughter was alive, and then I wanted to get her to safety. Pushing me to meet the owners of a recovery center is shitty when my daughter is my priority. And so I was very upset with him. Like, and I told him, and like, I even said to him, I'm like, are you getting kickbacks from them? That's actually what I said to him. I'm like, because you always say you have no skin in the game. I said, but how you're acting, defending them and what's transpired, I can't help but feel like you're benefiting in some way from this facility. And I was getting really disgusted about it. And he of course denied. And I was like, I said, I'm not fucking meeting with those owners. Originally, that was before I knew she was alive and I was going to come up. I had planned on going with PD there to get her items. And then finally I was like, fuck you. I have no interest in going there. And I just made her the priority. And then because I continued to speak about what had transpired, the more I learned, he started making videos and he started putting information about dosing of her MAT, how many doses she missed, in the comments to strangers on his social media, which is a complete violation of HIPAA. These are things I didn't even know. So it wasn't like I shared that information. And I never share specifics. I think many know that. Like I really don't give specific details. And so I know he shared more stuff. Like I would have to go back through, and then he was like, he at one point, so those who don't know, like we had been asked to be in the ABC News documentary that was done about Jelly Roll. We had been asked in December about doing it, and Brooke was in treatment. I had made a video about this, and I had really struggled with, it was something we wanted to do because it would allow us to get the story out and really bring awareness. But obviously we needed to have her permission for it. I mean, that's the right thing to do. And I had sought guidance from him when I met him in person, and said I was really struggling with if I even wanted to burden her with that information being in treatment. And I asked for his guidance, and he really encouraged me to do it. He's like, you have to live your life. I think this is a great opportunity, all these things. Okay. He was telling me, and I was just like, yeah, I'm like, but her recovery is the priority. And I mean, obviously, I wanted to do it and it would have been really cool, but I was torn, and that's why I needed guidance. He went, in his comments, and was saying how I was putting a documentary ahead of my daughter. And I couldn't believe that son of a bitch had the balls to say that after how he encouraged me to do it. And it really, really upset me. And so he started, like, obviously telling lies then. Because I did seek the opinion of somebody who, is a professional, right? Helps people get into treatment as an interventionist. I wanted his opinion, because I didn't want to risk harming her. And because, this isn't about fame. And so I had the paperwork sent to the therapist from ABC, the consent, and I sent a whole thing, and I was like, I told them, I said, I really wish you would let me talk to her, because I was on this blackout. I said, because I really want to explain to her, this would not be a bashing thing in any way, which, because, you're healing. And then I also didn't know what they were telling her. So I wanted to explain to her and get her input on if she was agreeable, what she would want, because it was very clear that Mark was not going to let her participate in it, which would have been ideal if we were going to go that route. So I never got to tell her about it. And they told me they were going to tell her about it. They refused to tell her about it. And so I decided not to push it anymore. And I'm like, I'm like, if this opportunity came up, there's always a chance for another one. And so I had told ABC, I'm like, let's just not even risk her sobriety. And so that was really hard when I'm reading in his comments, him using that against me when he was the one pushing me to go that route. It was very upsetting. And so, obviously, those who have seen the documentary, Save Me by Jelly Roll, which is really good. You should watch it. We are not in it. And, but I think it's, awesome. I thought it was an awesome documentary. And, but, I'm trying to think what else there was. My kids. And then he just kind of continued to bash in his comments, but the HIPAA violations were really disgusting to me. And then I kind of went silent about it because everybody kept telling me to hire an attorney. And I did reach out to attorneys. I reached out because it's tough because it's interstates, right? So I'm in Florida, they're in Maryland. I called a Florida attorney. They're saying you'd have to go with an attorney in Maryland. So I called Maryland attorneys, and everybody's like, oh, we don't do that. We don't do that. And nobody could point me in the right direction. And then the more I thought about it, I'm like, what is an attorney going to do? It would be me suing. And none of this has ever been about getting money. And the first thing that would happen is they would put a gag order on. And let's face it, they would. They want me to shut up and not talk about them because this doesn't put them in a good light. And that's a big reason also why I have not pursued trying to sue them, because they can't offer me enough money to shut my mouth. And that's the truth. But so now months have gone by, and I've been working on things, thinking about things behind the scenes, and that's the truth. Trying to think, how can we improve this system? Like, nothing seems to, I can do anything. This facility is going to continue to go on and harm more patients. This interventionist is going to go on and harm families and take advantage of them. And there were things that kind of fell into place that were really odd. Like, I ended up in some groups that I discovered there were posts about me in this scenario on Facebook. And I was like, oh, wow. And it wasn't negative stuff. And apparently I was in, really the right group. And I commented and I was like, hey, I'm actually that mom. and I kind of shared more details about what had transpired. And they were like, oh my God, we're happy to have you here. And these are a lot of people that work in recovery. All areas. And I can tell you, Sam Davis was in that group. One of his coworkers are in that group. The owners of MARC are in that group. And you think I care? I want them to see everything that's shared in there. So there are definitely things behind the scenes that have been going on. And with that, I decided to speak out again because I was getting accused of having a trauma response. That was what kept being thrown in my face, is that I was having a trauma response. And so here we are, almost 6 months later. You can't really use that excuse. So now it's that I'm sick and unwell and all these things. My therapist doesn't think so, but yeah. So that's kind of the story in a nutshell. Reading through comments, you guys, sorry. No, Jelly Roll didn't do anything wrong. No, I was just talking about how my family, we had been asked by ABC to actually be in his documentary in December, and how I had just sought advice on it from Sam. because I was just torn. I didn't want, that's a lot of pressure to put on my daughter, and she, was in treatment. And so I had sought advice from him, and he had really encouraged me to do it, then used it against me and put in his comments how I was putting a documentary before my daughter. That was it. There's very little oversight for these facilities compared to hospitals. That particular facility, the Joint Commission does, I guess, more or less like credential them, and I did file a complaint with them, but I don't know if anything was done. They don't let you know that. I don't think she had ever met Miss Ashley Cat. I know that she was in that area, but that did not happen as far as I know. Yes, this was a facility in Maryland, and I'm in Florida. So it just comes down to, I would love to pursue legal action, but I also don't want to be placed under a gag order. That completely defeats the purpose of what I'm trying to do. P Golden Girl, you can message me. It'll look like it won't go through. I'll get it. It is, my heart goes out to you guys that are struggling with addiction. It really does. No, he did gaslight us. I mean, for sure. And he continues to do it. You just have to go in his comments and read it. And it is what it is. All I can do is try to bring awareness. And like I said, I won't speak on something unless I have receipts for it. And so everything I share, I have proof. And like even my daughter, because a lot of people have mentioned, your daughter's an adult, you should let her do it. I'm like, what person in early recovery, which she's not in right now, but even then, can handle all that? They can't. You're thinking that they're thinking at like a normal level. Plus, what 23-year-old who isn't on drugs would want to take that on? They wouldn't. But I work in the medical field. I'm a nurse practitioner. I know all about ethics because I have to have them. And so that's another reason why I'm trying to speak out, because there are so many families getting taken advantage of, and it's not right. Yeah, I blocked him. That's what's so funny. I had blocked him. Now I have made accounts because, and it really, like I've talked about this, it's not about him. I make accounts to go in his comments to see who is commenting and talking shit, so that I know who they are when they come in my comments. It gives me a lot of education on how to approach them, and I don't block them normally, but I call them out for sure, and they don't like that. Oh, here's one. The name Brittany Bih. How would I feel if an addict's mom came for your license because you prescribed opiates to them? That wouldn't happen. I work in a hospital. An ROI is a release of information. So, but it's, and let's talk about the ROI. That needs to be talked about. So, I don't know why, and this is what my videos have been about. Mark, for some reason, had my daughter signed an ROI, which is a release of information, to Sam. My daughter had never met Sam. She had never spoken to Sam. Sam was never hired. He was never under contract. So there was no reason for him to have access to her medical information. Now, when you look at the big picture of this, okay, when somebody is on an ROI, you suspect that they're going to have some sort of ethics, right? Because we all abide by like a code of conduct, to where you're not going to go, that person isn't going to go and share your private protected healthcare information on their social media without your permission to do so. Signing a release of information doesn't give him rights to share anything on his social media. My daughter and I, we have an agreement. That is a big difference. And there has always been discussion, and I can assure you, there is so much I do not share on the social media. And so he completely abused his power, and all the information he obtained was from MARC, from that facility. It's not the same what I do, Myra. It's definitely not. We have an agreement on what I talk about. And I don't give specifics. I'm also her mother. And so there's always been an agreement with us. I can tell you, you think she has thought about it? No, she signed her paperwork for admission. That was part of the forms, and that's it. And they told her she had to sign it. I couldn't talk to her. And so how was I to know? And he abused his power ultimately. I don't think he falls under HIPAA because he's not licensed and he doesn't even hold a board certification, which we know now because he had it falsely on his website as a credential. Oh, this is one, Dresden. That's one that has been up in my comments that is a Sam fan. You know he's really short. I don't know if you know that. I know you have a crush about his draw, but he is really short. He's not tall. The facility shouldn't have, so this is a bigger picture, but, my question to the facility is, he wasn't hired. And because people have told me that an interventionist, when people get into contracts, they stay very involved, and I guess they will have things where information is released to them. I've had people say before in comments, he was never hired. And the best kicker of this is that not only did he abuse it, but he admitted to it in his own comments, which I've shared on a few videos. And he literally said, you weren't my client, and that I'm just a dude you signed an ROI for. That is literally what he put in his comments. All the people who are coming in here, they're avid Sam supporters, which is fine. They're going to say what they want. I agree. I would think he would have to abide by HIPAA. But how are they going to penalize him? I mean, I'm not sure. And I believe I filed a complaint with HIPAA months ago. I just can't remember if it was on the facility or if it was on him. If not, I am going to file one on him. No, I don't think he will go live with me. Guys, I'm reading through. how did I feel when I first found out about that Brooke was addicted? I mean, it was very upsetting when I found out that she was using IV drugs. And that was really when the change started. I mean, it's normal to be angry. But, all right, you guys, I got to go feed my family. I will, either way, I'll try to go live. I have not heard from Sam. If I hear from him, I will go live as planned. But he has not said that he was going to go live with me, which I'm not shocked about. But I got to go feed these people. Talk to you later.